I can't see Marie. I don't know. I see community board and I see two of Barbara Williams. Who is here? Do we have any attendees? I don't know. Something changed in the way layout. Is this a meeting? Is not an event? Marie, are you there?
I'm sorry, Santi, I didn't hear you. You were asking if it's a meeting or an event. It is a meeting.
Oh, okay. So
you should see that. It tells you right there when you're on the the agenda.
So we don't have any more the attendees.
This is a meeting. This is set up as a meeting.
Okay, so we don't see in our screen the attendees list anymore at this point. Everybody.
I don't know what you see because I just see what I see. I don't know what you see.
Yeah, I don't see the attendees panel, but maybe there aren't any.
We are all participants at this point.
Okay.
Okay, I'm assuming that's is good. Probably that's what we want. Two is not from the committee. Definitely, the meeting is for the committee members.
I mean, you see Barbara's on here.
Yeah, I see Barbara. I see Francois.
Francois is on here.
And then I see
Campion is on here.
Yes, but she was on the agenda. I put her on our agenda, and I see BK01. Who is that, Jerry?
That's the other computer. Yeah.
Okay, it's Jerry.
That's the other computer.
Okay, guys, what do we start? Maybe because I know that some people had to go tonight. Steve probably was the wrong night. Toby sent me an email. It's a Jewish holiday, so she wasn't able to attend. I know there is Reynoso event, so several people they're going to Reynoso, and so I know. But so maybe we should start. I do a roll call for. I can see you, but probably officially have to do it. So Brooks is not here. Chesler.
Here.
Drink water. Drink water.
Here, sorry.
Okay, no, sorry. Foster, no. Moskowitz, no. And Pedersen, no. Okay. Okay, guys. Definitely there is an agenda. There is an agenda here that I already listed as a running agenda ongoing until we define these items. So probably this will keep appearing at every meeting until we nail down, all the things we want to accomplish. And so I'm not going to even switch to vote, because if there is something we needed to vote, I don't think it's going to happen tonight. We don't have a quorum we need 5 people. But maybe I start a second with Sophia, why Sophia is here, and then we go back to our conversation. Sophia had originally contacted Steve Chesler, I don't know, via LinkedIn. She attended, I believe, last general meeting for the first time, our community board meeting. So it was her first experience. I believe it wasn't one of the best one. But she's working on a thesis, if you read the agenda, and I believe what she wants to do is definitely is the eyes on the cake, I believe, right now, and so maybe we'll present it for a vote, and if she can enter in full collaboration, and she can help us to develop some of the items, so the things we want to have for our community board, and will be also an opportunity for her to develop her thesis. But maybe I'll give a few minutes to Sophia so she can tell herself.
Hi guys, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. So I'm Sophia. I've lived in Williamsburg for like 3 years now, and my thesis has been working around the concept of activating community agency, specifically in Williamsburg, because after like quarantine, when I returned home, I just like felt like I had a desire to be like deeply connected to like the built environment and whatnot. But I like noticed some like complacencies that like could very easily be regarded as like a normal occurrence in like a hyper dense city like New York. So I started with this working research question of how might we play a more active role in shaping our built environment through various initiatives that will impact us the most. So I spent last semester doing a deep dive into different like participatory governance options, speaking to organizations and nonprofits. And I quickly found that there's so many ways to be involved, like on both the grassroots and city levels. And then I stumbled across the Williamsburg Greenpoint meeting in November, and I wasn't able to stay for the whole meeting, and that was kind of my first insight because of the time commitment. And I just noticed a lot of different pain points that if I'm feeling and that you guys probably feel and any other of the like community attendees are feeling. So I kind of ended at a place where if I designed a model co-creatively, like with the community, like with you guys, with other like industry experts, that it could be a really powerful way to like re-engage the community and allow for the meetings to be like more participatory and inclusive and accessible to like the wider community at hand. So this semester I've been focusing more on that, and like that's why I was like, I definitely like cold messaged a bunch of you on LinkedIn, anyone I could find. So just like trying to get in touch with like different people to like try to do this model in like a co-creative way. So it's not just like me like placing my assumptions onto this model. It's more of like a collective effort. So yeah, that's about it.
Yes, I don't know. What do you think, guys? How do you feel about having Sophia join us in this as a community member in this effort?
Hi, I'm sorry I was late. I couldn't get in. The password wouldn't let me in. I have no idea what she was talking about. Can someone catch me up to speed quickly, please? Thank you.
Well, it's also on the agenda, Sophia. So Sophia just explained that she's working for a thesis, and definitely it's written there. She can help us in developing probably a more participatory, a sort of a kind of maybe different prototype of meetings, you know, a little bit different, more participatory, and definitely there's other items including there, maybe even print material, digital material, things that we can, you know, can help us to be more reachable and do more outreach, you know, for our community.
You're working on your thesis?
Yeah, I'm a senior at Parsons in the Strategic Design and Management program.
Okay. I just needed to be caught up because I couldn't get in.
No
Nowhere.
problem. I saw you. You were absent. Now you're present. Okay. Anybody else want to say something? Or
Well, I think it would be fine. I think, having Sophia would be a welcome addition and really, bring in some new ideas, perspective to the board communications and outreach. So yeah.
And I mean, this was already our plan. So, she'll work with us. She'll need to receive our input, and what we know about issue, but it would be great also, to understand how people perceive. And I believe her impression wasn't the best one. The last meeting, she felt a little bit isolated. It was a very long meeting. All the things we know very well. So that would be interesting.
I just want to throw out, so have you discussed this with the board leadership at all? Just, from the communication side of things, just, because she's not a committee member or a board member, or is she now becoming a committee member or?
We can have folks that are not on the board as committee members.
No, I know that, but I don't know if she's been added as a non-board member, committee member.
Oh, okay. I thought you said we had to discuss it.
All you have to do is send a letter to Dallas.
That's
and
it.
then Because you're on the committee.
And
And it would be very good to see how that process works anyway. Jane Poole did it for my committee, but anybody can do it. So we should see how open they are to letting people on. That would be good.
Yeah,
No,
no,
but also to clarify, guys, I didn't even put it that way. I just put it, she's working on her thesis. So she doesn't need to be even part of the board. It's just a proposition to have a member of the community to work with us and collaborate with us and developing our thesis and do this research, and also definitely offer some heavy lifting for us too. So I don't think it's necessary. She didn't ask to be part of the committee. She could.
Well, I don't see why not. If she's going to work with us, why wouldn't she be part of the committee?
Yes.
No, I said to simplify. It wasn't even that. It wasn't the agenda. She
You
want
want
to
to
be
work with us, why not be a part of the committee? I wouldn't sit around doing nothing and I'm not a part of your committee.
Huh?
That's
Yeah.
just me.
From now on. She's got to have them. I'll come and see them at the office. Sorry. Sorry, I forgot to mute.
So are you
Okay,
asking the committee, are we comfortable with it, or?
Of course. It wasn't the agenda. I want you to know. I had a nice.
I couldn't even pull up the agenda.
That's not good.
No. Look how I'm freezing. I'm having issues here. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, me too. I'm having issue today, not the other days. But okay, so everybody is cool with this. I believe we even have a quorum. I'm assuming so. It's good for me. It's good for you, Janice. Everybody say yes.
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 We welcome.
Thanks, guys.
Are you the person we're talking about, Sophia? I came on late, so,
Yes, she's Sophia.
okay. Very cute, so we'll keep you.
Okay, I believe everybody said yes, and then we can present it to the full board, and I will speak also with our chairperson and with our district manager, but I'm assuming that's all the agenda, so. Okay, so maybe I know we have Barbara Williams here, and I don't want to make her wait or even longer, but the chairperson at our last meeting asked her to reconsider, and bring the topic about COVID to our outreach committee. I can hear noise on the background.
Sorry, that's me. Let me close my door. Hold on.
I think I'm proposing, everybody, and I've said it to our chair, that, and why this even came up with Barbara, is that I may be all by myself, who knows? I thought that it's ridiculous that she's reporting to a board that is not responding back about what they're doing and how they're doing it. They're kind of monitoring her, but I think she should be monitoring the board. Oh, what is that?
Sorry, that was my phone. I'm back. So, thank you for having me. So just so you, in case you don't remember, I am the Assistant Director for Brooklyn Borough Outreach for Test and Trace. I cover most of North Brooklyn, Central Brooklyn, and going over into like East New York in that area as well. So my job basically is to make sure you have all the information and resources you need within the community to provide services that you want to put out in the community, to make sure we have equity when it comes to the COVID, because there are certain areas that are not receiving equal treatment, as we all know. So that's why I'm here. And I was invited to come to the meeting today because from what I understood, Ms. Dialis wanted to set up a committee to do work basically on the COVID. Did I get that right?
Did not hear me before when you were walking. I'm trying to propose that the board, that since this is the outreach committee, and they're looking at how does the board do outreach, right? How flexible and open are they to other people, involving people and making it clear how people should be involved with them. We're not here just to monitor you. I think it's important to find out, do we have board people that are actually taking seriously something as big as COVID? And last time you mentioned a zip code, and I had a women's meeting, as Sante knows, and then I will stop talking, but I had Simon Weiser and several people, Hasidic women, that came, and we had quite a raucous, Francois, right? Little raucous, the meeting. And because I thought it should be on the table. What communities are we talking about? I'm not wanting to discriminate, but it just seems crazy that all the board members are sitting in a room, listening to you talk, knowing exactly what you're saying, and nobody, whether they are saying anything. They act like they don't have any idea what you're talking about, or that we have some responsibility as board members to at least report in. And Simon did actually report in at the Women's Committee, and he brought up the fact that the Hasidic community doesn't need to really be so careful because they already have had the coronavirus. They have, I guess, herded that they have gone beyond, either they've died or they have come through it. So that seemed to be the view that came at the committee. So that's just one thing. But I think board members should have to tell you what they're doing and how they're doing it. That's it. That's the last of my, I don't know if anybody else agrees with me on here.
Yeah. Now, and definitely if I can say something else about that, because this definitely very interesting. And of course, there's Simon Weiser from the Hasidic community was there, and that's what he said. Nobody's wearing masks because we all got COVID. But I spoke today with a friend of mine. He's a doctor, but he works in critical care. she works on critical care at the Montefiore in the Bronx. So they saw really a lot of death. They still, critical care became definitely a COVID ward practically, 99% of the patient, they've been all COVID patient. And so, it was completely, told me that doesn't make sense. It doesn't mean you can get COVID. And it's important because these conversations are educational. If a community is convinced completely, has a different conviction, it's not a scientific conviction, and it's not the acidic. It could be the Italian, I don't know, the Latinos. And told me it doesn't matter. He said, first you can get COVID again. You can get COVID even asymptomatically, it doesn't stop you to transmit it to somebody else. And now, there is even the danger of the variants. So even one more reason. And so practically, there we got COVID or not, we should all wear masks. And that's something, if people has a different conviction, I believe is our responsibility to do the proper outreach. That's all.
Can I just ask what the zip code was?
Well, the zip code changes with time, so it's not going to always be the same. So depending on day to day, it could be different because the numbers go up and down. Okay, so this week when we looked at the numbers, it was in 11211 and 11249. Those were the zip codes that were high. Okay, and spilling into 11206. Okay,
That's a great area.
Yeah. So
Can you repeat the zip codes?
11206, 11211, and 11249.
I said those are the bar areas.
Yeah. So, but that doesn't mean that it will be the same next week. It may go down. So currently they're all around 16% rate of infection. And so what we're trying to do is to do outreach in those communities by distributing PPE and education. And one of the things I find is a problem is communication. Communication is a problem. So most definitely, we need to find a way to communicate with people where they are and not where we think they should be,
In Spanish and Yiddish?
So I do a lot of work in Spanish areas as well as the Polish areas. Mostly Spanish and Polish.
You also cover other community board or community districts besides BK1?
Yes. I'm responsible for all of Brooklyn, but because I live close to Brooklyn and PK1 is my district, and Dialis has my heart. So of course I'm going to look out for her and anyone in the district. So I tend to store boxes of face masks in my house so I can distribute them to people who are having events.
I guess the question is, have you noticed that there are other community boards in Brooklyn we feel are effectively bringing these issues to light and communicating them either directly at meetings or through their website or social media? And or do you see that maybe our boards could, raise their level of communication with regard to that?
Well, what a lot of people are doing, they're doing Zoom calls for the communities. They're doing outreach. They're doing food pantries where they go out and assist at the food pantry at distributing the information. They have their Facebook page. So they do all kinds of events, and we support them in any way we can. We send canvassers out to direct people to the testing locations nearest to like a food pantry. So there are so many ways that we can help assist you in anything that you want to do.
Thank you for having your van come down on my end. I saw some folks going in.
Yes. I thought about you. I told you I was going to have you, right? Then I said,
I watched out the window and I saw folks going in, and it was a snowy, slippery day.
Yeah, I got you. I told you I got you, and I'm gonna have you again, so don't worry about it. Cooper is become like a point for me where I have to make sure you're okay, so I'm okay. So this is the type of communication I'm talking about and the type of working together. You know, you tell me where there's a need. If it's in a hot zone, then I can set up like, if I can't get a truck, I can find a testing location in the area, and then we can get out there and give out PPE, face shields, hand sanitizer. It's about education. Yeah.
Yeah, so just wondering, like on our website, that we need a COVID tab or a COVID section with
Yes.
resources and maybe with an alert, like, you know, this zip code or this sector is hot right now, you know, and
Yes.
that kind of thing. And then we're talking
Yes.
about, you know, upgrading our email distribution system, you know, those types of things.
Yeah.
But-
I will offer this. This is what I will offer because I have spoken to Dialis about being part of the committee, if possible. So I can join in and help in any way possible. I sit on the executive committee for the Brooklyn NAACP. And so I've sat on boards before, so I know the operations, how the committees and the boards are different, you know, and how we work to help support the board. So I have an understanding of that. So anything I can do to help with the COVID outreach, I can do it on my own time too.
Absolutely. I mean,
Right,
Barbara,
helping
so you know that right now we are working to build an outreach structure. We don't have it, of course. We're trying to organize even to be able to send email. But definitely, it's something, you know, we will have to give priority. The only things they can really do immediately outreach definitely is a Twitter account we just opened. We're gonna open other social media account. So if you already have something that you want to say, particular way is already done, we could try probably to start putting out that there too. And maybe we can make, I don't know, we could make a plan. Or maybe you already have a plan where to go. How much time do you spend in each neighborhood? You said you rotate from different zip code. This is something happen weekly. I didn't see you in Greenpoint, for example. Maybe I didn't know this. Maybe I didn't move out of the of my house enough, going from a meeting to another. Yeah, just curious how.
You're muted, Barbara.
My dog is,
The dog wants to talk.
yeah, give me 1 second.
I don't know if you heard it, but I think she was also asking if she would also have, if we, the committee, wouldn't mind her being a part of our committee as a non-member, as we just invited Sophia in.
Absolutely, you know, I believe we're gonna have to continue to talk about COVID. I believe it's a responsibility.
Well, I think we should answer her question too. You know, yes, no.
I think
Yeah.
I wanted to say something
I'm
before
sorry.
that.
I'm back.
Yes,
Sorry,
I-
but no, of course, you're welcome to come on the committee. It wouldn't be my decision, but I'm sure the Alice will be happy. And yes, you know,
Yeah.
Can we-
Anything I can do to help set up, I've set up committees before in the past as well. So there's so many things I can help out with as far as the committee is concerned. Yeah.
but as Janice has said, I believe also.
Yeah, I would like to see that this committee, that's an ad hoc committee, that's really looking at how to open up this board to the rest of the community, and which means that we're looking at the roles of board members. But can't all the committees of CB1 put on their agenda discussion about COVID? Let's ask every committee when it meets to have at least some time in the meeting where they're looking at outreach and what's going on, because we want to get everybody, we don't want them all to join our committee, but we want them, like all the Parks Committee and the housing. We're gonna have public housing next Thursday, isn't it, Amanda? So I'm just saying, Julia, is that each one could give a report about how they're doing in from their standpoint. That's my recommendation. And you know, you can join this group, but let's get the rest of them moving.
Can I say that's an excellent idea? Like, that's brilliant, because a lot of people don't look at it in that way, where it's like affecting the economics of a community. It's connected, you know, it's connected to the parks and recreation. The ways that COVID impacts or healthcare impacts, not just the physical body, but all the other parts of a community, right? And so your way of thinking is taking it and making sure that you hit every single area where there might be inequities. So brilliant. I have to say, Ms. Janice, brilliant.
Thank you, Barbara. Eddie, Debbie, you for sure have to join us. Sorry. I don't know now. Hello.
So yeah, so do you have any ideas for upcoming events?
Well, I mean, one thing I've always thought about is that, you know, like during the, like we could have a separate hearing, like periodic hearings about, you know, the state of COVID, you know, where all the issues that are going on, you know, and there's new information, and, you know, bring in experts and people from the community, and just, you know, kind of do a checkup every so often through either at the board meeting or like maybe both, like just have a moment on the agenda to check in on COVID, and then if necessary, have a hearing here and there to.
Yeah, I think that would be good. And what we could do for a public hearing is that we can get someone clinical to come and speak about the state of it. Currently, we're working on mostly test and trace, but our jobs are now being shifted to cover 50% test and trace and 50% vaccines. And what that means is that we have to monitor if people know how to get the vaccine, where to get the vaccine, if they qualify, right? And that would be something major that the board, the committee could be involved in when it comes time for the rollout of the vaccines.
Absolutely. Sophia had a question, I believe. I saw she raised her hand.
Yeah, so you were talking about like the different like communities like Polish and like this area, and especially like on like the information that you're giving, is any of it like translated into different languages? Like I think I've only seen it translated into like Spanish, and you were talking about like communicating with communities where they're at and not where they want you to be. So like
Right.
especially like when talking about like the Hasidic community, like doing their own thing and like their whole herd immunity, but like they're still part of our community. So like how can we like speak to them in a way that's like gets them to understand that they're, even though they have their own community, they're part of a larger community, and it's like a more collectivist thing. If that makes, I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, we do have communications in lit in different languages like Polish and such. But I think part of the problem, it isn't the lit, it's the having representation, people will trust in order to bring the messaging to them. So me going into a Hasidic community and speaking to people might not be as effective as someone who is in the community speaking. Miss Janice, did I say something wrong?
No, I'm blanking.
But isn't there folks on the board who are a part of the community who can like serve as that function?
Right, and so that the whole goal of the committee would be to see who has which connections in what parts of the community, and learning and teaching and working together as a group to see how we can come up with a message that is relatable, so that when we speak, we're all on one page instead of giving different voices, but we're still giving the same message, but we're doing it in a way where the community that's going to receive it is going to receive it. You know, you can't go into the projects and talk one way, and then go into the Hasidic and talk the other way, and go to the Italian neighborhood and talk another, you know, the same way. It's not going to work, right? So there's a great representation that's in this group, and I think that as a team, you know, once everyone sits down and put the ideas to paper, it'll work.
And definitely, you know, to tap in what definitely to what you're saying and what Janice was saying, but this was a a conversation that we already had with Janice at her committee a week ago. I believe what is very important, and we start bringing these, and Steve said that too, at the community board, and make space to not only for us, the people are here and we have interest to talk, to really
Right.
start questioning and bring in the member of our board, of which they belong to that zip code of which we have mentioned, but it doesn't matter. It could be a good zip code. Everybody has to speak about, and definitely we need to talk about behavior. Clearly, it's not just, I know you come over there, you say the good zip code, and it's definitely always the reflection of a behavior. I don't think it's always, and so we need to talk about behavior, and then we need to talk about other stuff too, business guidelines, which I see because I spoke with my local business, mainly they don't know. And what we discover, we had a meeting, there was a captain for the 94th precinct. They don't even know. She said, to be honest, right, Janice? She said, we never had the guidelines. The store don't know exactly how they should behave, and so it's a kind of very wide picture. And so we're going to continue to talk about this, but yeah.
But I mean, I think we're asking for the community board, Barbara, to have time, because they have to decide. We have two groups of people, right? Between the drinkers and the Hasidim, who are not quite believing, some people in them, right? And if people aren't going to sit there at a community board meeting and talk like I'm talking, because everybody's going to be jumping all over the place, right? There, as we got the jumping, and I heard that my representative from the Hasidic community complained to the executive board and all that, though nobody has called me about that. I'm just saying is that we have to have a way of talking. So we need a person that could facilitate the dialogue. Is this community trying to have an agreement on wearing masks and social distancing? Or are we having whole parts of our community that aren't going to do it?
Right.
And that's the drinkers too, that are walking around with no masks and everything else.
But I believe also, Janice, that we need, as we said before, we need to bring the science. We need to bring, I don't know who is credible for the community, an epidemiologist. Somebody will say exactly behavior is what really make change the numbers. And
Right.
and then if somebody want to really contrast the science, we have a big problem, and
Yeah, I mean, I have both my shots now. So does that mean I don't have to wear a mask? I'm just saying, I think this needs to be
That
talked
way.
about and to let people vote, even at the community board, if they're supporting these
Mhm.
rules.
Mhm.
Because at least people should see, even if they don't listen, there has to be something. I mean, I have to put it on, and
I feel
I
like
could
that's,
say I don't need it.
I feel like the Public Safety Committee could come up with a resolution, or recommend a resolution that the board could pass related to what kind of education you want to put out there, what, information to disseminate to, to counteract the mythologies that are being perpetuated out there.
I think that's brilliant, Steve, because
Yeah.
we look pretty helpless, Barbara, really, if we're the community board, we're the local government of this community, and we can't definitively say as a board that we're standing behind these rules. And you have to run around. That's why I thought it was you have to run around to everybody's place and give them things. But the rest of us are sitting there listening to you and not saying a darn thing, because we don't want this group mad at us or that group mad at us or whatever. And we have to have for outreach. We can't have an outreach committee if people can't talk.
But
Right.
as an outreach
I
committee,
get reported, Ryan gets reported because we didn't talk properly in a meeting.
and you get reported because I make outbursts and I let you know when you're not being respectful. Anyhow, I will state this. Right now, we're saying we want people to do this and we want people to do this. I like to go back to, as a committee here, are we going to make a recommendation to all the other committees to, as the outreach committee, to put the COVID on their agenda, to have it at their meetings? Because now we went into, this group is not doing this, and this group is not doing that, and this group is not doing that. We didn't solve the issue to say, are we going to present this to the other committees as the outreach committee? Can we get that finalized?
I mean, Julia, I agree with you. Certain committees, they have certain competence, and COVID will fail, like public safety. We said public safety, Steve. You know, that's yes, but you know, there's other committee they do land use, and I don't know what's the competence of landmarks or land use. So you know, certain committee definitely yes. You know, parks, I don't know. Maybe there's behavior. How is people behaving inside parks? You know.
So we as a committee is going to make recommendation. Is that what we plan on doing? Because I didn't hear any of us say, yes, this is what we'd like to do. It was just thrown out there. Oh, we should get all the other committees to have COVID on their agenda. Are we going to make the suggestion to the other groups that they should have this COVID on their on their agenda? None of us got together to say yes.
We are talking.
Rambled. Yeah, and we went all the way out to a whole nother level and didn't make a decision. So, Mr. Chairperson, are we going to, as a committee, suggest to other committees to put COVID on their agenda?
We are brainstorming. Yes, we can suggest and make recommendation. You
Okay.
know, not
As a
everybody has
committee.
spoken yet. You know, but
We should have been there already and then moved on to what's happening in each borough, each section of Brooklyn. We went all the way to left field and didn't state as a committee, as a whole, okay, we're going to do this.
Yeah, but you do that, you pick on people. People are brainstorming, Julia. This is outreach.
We are
I understand brainstorming, Jan, but we went all the way to left field. We don't know whether we
Well,
do
from
it or
your
not.
point of view,
Yeah, well,
not
I
from
feel,
mine.
I understand what Julia's saying. I feel like, you know, we're the,
Okay.
essentially the communications committee. And we have, you know, we're talking about a public health issue and, you know, how the board should deal with that. And so I
Right.
think inevitably, if it's in the context of how can the board best communicate and be helpful in mitigating all these problems with the virus, I think that makes sense. But for us to sort of suggest how the board should be organized around, you know, contemplating the coronavirus, I don't know if that's really beyond the scope of what we should be doing.
I don't think we have a scope yet. Do you think we have a scope?
Well, that's why I threw out the Public Safety Committee. I think of, you know, I think public health falls under their purview. Yeah, but I think we feel like this very critical issue is not being, the board is not communicating to the district.
I don't,
Job. I
Yeah.
feel like that's our critical issue, is how that can be changed. And if board organization can help remedy that, then that makes sense.
Can I
people
just
don't
jump
have
in?
to agree. Go on.
Can I just jump in and give a, so this committee is based on outreach, right? I think that a good place to start would be to find out what outreach is being done as far as CB1 is concerned. And we can start small, baby steps, right? Any outreach that's being done, you let me know, and I will provide PPE and literature for those events. And that's just, like I said, it's a small step to begin something that may get bigger, you know what I mean? But at least to get something started, I think that we can provide PPE to any outreach event that you have, or if you want to have a speaker come, we can arrange that as well. It's something easy and it's low-hanging fruit.
That all the committees would come back and say what events are going on. What she just said. I think they all have to. That's what outreach is. We're reaching out to the whole board to be involved, not just us.
guys, can
But that's
Yeah.
my question once again. Are we as the outreach committee going to make the suggestion to all the other committees that this should be on their agenda for outreaching? We never came to a consensus.
No, Julia, I agree with you. What I'm trying to say, if you said you didn't look at the agenda is trying to structure an outreach structure we don't have, right? So even now, all the good intention we have as outreach committee, we can't outreach nothing. We can talk, and we are talking about. the agenda contain a list of things that will give us more equipment to start saying, we only have one right now, Twitter. We can't even send an email. We cannot even send a newsletter. We don't have a template for a newsletter. So I agree with you, but I'm assuming this committee is trying to reinvent, not only reinvent something that CB1 doesn't have, okay? So that's very important. I agree with you. I wish other committee will be part and we can propose it. I have nothing against. We can propose it. We can give this burden. But if the outreach committee has no capability to outreach out, I don't know what they can do. They can talk about, you know.
Well, I'm sorry. The reason why I suggested those things is because we're living in a situation where this is urgent and it's immediate, right? And
Yeah.
so these are easy things that you can do until you get anything structured. Okay. It's stuff that's already put together. You really don't have to do a lot of work. You know, all you have to do is say we're having an event at the park or wherever your event is. And you say, Barb, this is the hours, these are the dates, these are the times. Can you send canvassers to the event? And you don't even have to do anything but, you know, give me the date and time. And you have your outreach event right there, because we'll be given PPE and literature about the need to mask up.
I know, Barbara, I agree with you. What I'm trying to say, this meeting here, maybe we should switch for a second and go back to that too, because I know Steve and Erin, they have to go in 10 minutes. But like, for example, tonight we're supposed to understand, and I go back to our first item of the agenda, which is outreach tools. Do we have an existing Community Board 1 mailing list? Because now what you're saying, right, we could send an email blast, but if we want to do that tomorrow or in 3 days, we cannot do it right now. Right, Steve? Do we have an email list, Marie?
Yes, we do, and it goes out regularly, and any material that comes in that we think is very important to the community, we send it out. We have 2 email lists that grows, and we have, you know, that's what we have. We have people who sign in, they want to be on the email blast, and they were on the agenda.
How
do-
many do we have? How many people?
I cannot tell you because they're groups and they're people. So if you want that information, I can look it up tomorrow, but I can't do it now while I'm in the meeting.
Would it possible for you to forward a couple of them to the members of the committee, just so we can see, you know, what format it's in and that sort of thing?
I will check. I don't know.
Okay.
Sometimes, a lot of times people give us information that's private. Like a lot of people do not want their cell phone numbers given out.
Right,
You
so-
know, I would have to check.
Yeah, we could delete the email addresses and just send the, you know, the body of the,
But anyone who wants to sign up, they can sign up, and that goes out to the public all the time.
Can you
Well,
send
just
us
so
that
that-
sign up link as well?
I'm sorry.
Okay, so
I was going to say, I've spoken to probably about half a dozen people who said they've sent in the form and they've never received an email.
That's not true because I do it regularly. So if you give me those people's names that you spoke to, I'll trace them.
Okay,
Okay?
okay, so maybe something else we should put here because this will help us simplify. I know we already changed the web form to speak at the meeting. Maybe we should see if Jerry can ask, I don't know, from the OITT, if they can also change the email list request as a web form because it still is a PDF. Right, Steve? That would be helpful too.
very helpful. Yeah.
So we already changed. We did a very good step, but this was a month ago. Maybe maybe Jerry already asked and it's there. You know, we have to wait for the from the CD to have that change made. But it would be great if we start changing the email list request, because if we do that, also Barbara, while she's out, she can also pass this information. And we can build and enrich our email list at CB1 too, right, Barbara?
Exactly.
And so, you know, it will be a kind of reciprocal system. I'm gonna try to go faster. The newsletter could be helpful. Hopefully, Sophia, you can help with that, right? I don't know if I send it to you, but I'll send you again. Steve has sent me one from CB2. It looked pretty clean, pretty simple, nothing fancy, and we could start thinking how we can make a monthly newsletter, which we could introduce together with other issue of the community, also the COVID. It could be a dedicated one, even simpler. So maybe Barbara already has one. There is something already, a template that we can update and customize case by case.
Really quick.
I lost you.
Sorry. Really quick. I put in the chat, but like I think like Bushwick's newsletter sign up, it's on the website, like it's on their community board website. Is there a possibility to like maybe transition some of the forms that need to be like physically sent in into like some sort of add-on like MailChimp? Because I think the easier the process, like the more people will sign up to not only like receive the newsletter but to speak. Like I know you changed it to be more of a web form. I haven't looked at it since, but just streamlining the process will get wider engagement and I think also a younger demographic as well.
We're also trying to involve the older demographic, which is the one probably more affected, doesn't receive information.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would ease the process for everyone, but what I launched a survey last semester throughout my research, and I wasn't able to get an older demographic, but I got a pretty wide range, like between like 18 to like 40s, and like they want to be involved, but it's just like not easy for them. So like that's like my perspective right now. Obviously, I'm not privy to an older perspective, so that's just where I'm coming from.
No, absolutely, it's fair enough, Sophia. You know, and yeah, so we have a lot of other stuff. I don't think there is. We can continue to talk about. Maybe I want to switch to something as Tion has arrived. Is here now, and there was something we. And
Yes, I'm sorry. I have to sign off, but thank you, Barbara and
Okay.
Sophia and everyone, and catch you next time.
I do as well. Thank you all.
Okay, Steve. It will be. We have another conversation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is it.
Okay, guys. So I believe Erin and Steve left. IT, and so sorry. Let me mark you up. You are here now. And yeah, we can continue to talk about this. You know, it would be interesting if we were full. The full committee was here. You know, we're talking as time also printing material. I know sometimes it seems weird, but I wanted to tap to what Julia said last time, and Jerry also sent a request if there was compatibility once we have a design of something that we could ask for. Maybe it was National Grid originally at the sponsor for Community Board 1, so we could have also a pamphlet or something that could go and reach niche of the community that they're not, they don't have access to internet or the kind of less technology savvy. So just to let you know, Julia, that has not been forget about that. And yeah, and there was something once Tion is here, because we were talking about Tion has opened a Twitter account. We're planning to open a Facebook, Instagram, whatever later on. Right now we have the Twitter, and there was some issue that come out, you know, how to handle the account, how to share. You know, we didn't really speak, but it was just an idea that I put in the agenda. Maybe it could be because I believe that Tion had opened the account with his personal email address. That's fair either, you know, and I believe community board should have access all the time, and is, you know, be the proprietor of any account. We just, as a committee, we just handling them, managing them, but they're not ours. And so one of the idea was to have a shared Gmail account that could be used for all the social media that we will open, and so we could handle, have the password, have access, give the password, the access to the district manager, to our office, and yeah. So something we didn't discuss, and also rule what to follow. And I did a little bit on exploration, because you could be on Twitter and you could follow everybody, but the original idea when I originally spoke with the office, it was really to follow all our public officials, elected public officials, not the one that they are running for something else, just the one that represent, I don't know, if the council office, the current council office, and all the public agency organization are really important, just to avoid any conflict of interest, us not following any other individual, even if they are a member and our fellow member of the board. We shouldn't using this platform until we have understand better, just to put out information in order to inform and outreach, and use more as a vehicles, for making information, then makes personal interaction. And I saw some agency, they did it, and it was weird. The moment you start realizing that somebody is managing the accounting, is making personal decisions. So I was trying to be very impartial and bring this away. And we have not a long conversation with Tion about that. But maybe Tion want to say something too.
Sure. Yeah. So one thing that I wanted to that I briefly talked about the last time was like you should probably have some guidelines on like how to use the social media accounts. I created it just so that we could have one, and that was approved by the board. I'm happy to just go to the district office to do the transfer from my personal email address to the one that we have there. With Twitter in particular, there's TweetDeck that allows for you to share access to multiple accounts without needing passwords. That will be one way that we can have it set up so that the district manager or in the office would have like the ultimate access to the password management, and then they can grant access to the people on the outreach committee or the other people who may be volunteering to do that. So that would be one suggestion. I don't want to have control over like the password and management of it, because like that's a lot of responsibility and it's not my job. I just volunteered to create it because we needed to have a forum to like connect to people who are on the web who may not have knowledge of the community board. So it's to reach that demographic. Also, just add that I would also like us to get the printed materials, and I'll be happy to volunteer to pass it out. That could be one of the engagements that outreach committee does. It's just like, well, if anyone who is willing to can go out and just like canvas by handing out flyers that are related to Community Board 1. And the third thing and the last thing on this is that for the people we follow, I went through and unfollowed a lot of them. I don't know how we handle Antonio Reynoso because he is currently the representative for city council, but he will be running. So I don't know like how to handle that. So I don't want that to be my business either. So I will unfollow everyone and just like have like it to be a dissemination tool. I just created the account and follow people who were our representative and part of the community board.
Now, the reason why I said that, Tion, is that, and that's fair enough, like, for example, tonight there is a Reynoso, many of our board members that were there endorsing, and that's fair. I personally, I'm not endorsing anybody. So I thought that as a chair, I felt I want to personally build this around a committee that is not definitely, because, you can vehicle information, could be advantages, and I believe as a community board, we should abstract. But I believe, I don't know, Reynoso. Reynoso has two accounts. Once he says they refer specifically to his council office, which we want to follow that. And then there is another one, is Antonio Reynoso which is promoting himself, I'm assuming, for his candidacy as a borough president. But it's not just Reynoso, it could be anybody else. So maybe it's really be careful to see, you know, what account they have. You know, if they list that they are representing the council office, we want to follow this because, you know, they may, you know, put out information that are beneficial to our community and we want to interact. So that's what I meant. I just want to stop before we were engaging in doing something, you know, to stay really neutral and do our job for the community in the most neutral way. That's all.
Totally. The whole role of the community board is an advisory role and it's nonpartisan, and like that's completely the whole like process that I was going with when I was creating the account. Reynoso has, for this in particular, he has 2 accounts. I follow both of them. I didn't know which one, and then I realized that one was for his campaign and one was not. So I unfollowed the one that was for the campaign. And I guess that would just be in anyone who's managing the account to just like keep that in mind, because you have like different accounts that represent the role, and it would like, and then yeah.
So, but we all agree with this. I mean, Tion, I agree. I believe that this was my concern. I didn't want to be pointed as a chair. Janice, you agree with this too? I'm assuming Julia, and anybody, you know, I'm assuming.
I think the community board is more than advisory, but that otherwise I'm agreeing with what you're saying. But I think that the advisory role is being really used in a very negative way. And the fact is, we make a lot of decisions that are implemented and passed because we are really a coalition of 50 people that come from all different kind of organizations. And I think we can say, yes, that's what they call us. But the fact is that is not really the role, and people that play that role hurt the community from my point of view.
I totally agree. And I correct my statement. Yes, we are city officials. That's what it is in the city charter, and we're the 50 city officers that are representing this community. So yes, I totally agree.
And by the way, the last thing of that is that a lot of people criticize community boards. That's why Julie and I are going back and forth. The point is, if we don't do our jobs, which is to participate. And I think we're looking at participating in all language. So which you're helping. And I really appreciate that. I'm just getting to know you, but it's a really important gift. And but to move our participation, if we have 50 people on the board, 50 people need to be participating in some way. And I'm taking on personally, when I'm now on meeting, I'm going to write down and monitor every person that speaks and keep track over time and just look at how many people are actually speaking on this board, you know, and bringing how many people we have, how many people are going to committee meetings, but we don't know, we don't get a report on that, have we recently for you?
50, I don't know, 50, we know the full capacity, probably we 1 minus. So I don't know, what are we supposed to be 52, 50?
We're supposed to, I thought we were 50, but I don't know. For sure.
So
Officially 50.
Yeah.
Last meeting I counted, it started off with about 52 people present, and then by the end of the public session, there was about 41 board members.
Oh, Sophia, is that how you say it? Sophie or Sophia?
Sophia.
Okay, Sophia, is that if we can look, and this just adds to your list, Sante, I think we should look at participation on the committee, participation in the meetings, who's participating, right? Who's bringing stuff back, and not to be mean to people, but to look at what does participation mean? Because I think that a lot of people are afraid to say something. You know, it used to be that women didn't speak at all. Now, with the Women's Committee, we have a lot of women speaking, but they used to be that they weren't speaking. I'd go there and I'd say, this is like unbelievable. And ethnically and racially, there were big divides on who speaks and where they sit and how they sit. Look at the board. We have a very diverse group, but all the Hasidim are up there. All the Italians are over there. I mean, let's look at what we have. And
absolutely.
pay attention. That's not to be picking on people. They're comfortable. I understand that. But we are looking at what's working and not working. How many committees do get their quorum and how many don't? How many people are letting new people in to their committees that are from the neighborhood but not on the board? Who's going after people? So I'm going to make my own little checklist that I'll bring back, Sante, to the committee and see if people think it's a good checklist.
Absolutely, Janice. And also just to say that we spoke about this before, probably we spent more than an hour talking about this in a very animated way, which was important to exchange, because really talking is still one of the most human things that we do less today, but it's very important. And the board, even now, and something I wrote down because somebody told me, well, outreach is like is the meeting, the virtual meeting has to do with the virtual meeting, but then our meeting is our first outreach. And now with a virtual meeting, even if it's create a lot of complexity for many, but we even more we can reach even more people. And to tap to a comment of Sophia, which she had a bad experience when she attended the virtual meeting for the first time. She felt isolated in a place. You don't see anybody on a chat. You don't see the attendees, and you wait for 4 hours if you have to speak. It's kind of weird. And then we speak a language is very alien to most people, right? And there is all this jargon, incomprehensible things to the people don't know about community board. And now we don't even see people with their camera. So what kind of outreach do we do if we are meeting? People don't even turn on the camera. And I watched the executive committee meeting, and something was said that always the same people spoke. And I felt I was one of them, and maybe you were one of them. Few people of these 49, 48 people speak, maybe 8, 10. And somebody said that people repeat the same things they shouldn't. I have to say that honestly, the chairperson said, well, I don't know what they're going to speak, so I'm not going to stop them to speak. But somebody even put out the input that the people should be stopped. It doesn't matter. That's what the board meeting I meant. And even if 10 people are the one always speak and have question, is nothing in comparison. There is other 40 people there not saying anything ever. We don't even see them. This is an issue. It's an issue of outreach.
Well, yes, and I think we should iterate the role of if you're speaking a lot, maybe step back and allow for people who don't speak a lot to speak up. I know I haven't participated a lot in the combined public hearing and board meeting because the conversations are dominated, and I'm new to the committee and I'm new to the board, and it's just trying to insert yourself into such a lively conversation. It's do I really want to throw myself in the crosshairs right now on a certain issue? Sometimes I say yes, especially when it comes to transportation and when it comes to bike safety and protecting bikers. But then sometimes I'm just well, I have 3.5 more hours that I'm going to just be here because there's a lively debate going on.
No, I wasn't referring at you, Tian, because I saw you speaking, and when you did very surgically, carefully, and and you appear. I'm talking about there is people that I don't even know who they are. I have no idea. I never saw a camera turn on ever. And when the meeting were a physical meeting, you had the idea who your even board member were there. It was an anthropological study in a way, but even if they were silent, you could see them. Maybe they spoke to each other. Now we don't even know. I don't know. As a new
what
board
are you
member,
saying, Ashanti? As the outreach committee, are we suggesting that they turn their cameras on so we know that they're
no, I mean, we spoke about, I'm saying, I understand some people don't want to do that, but I was trying to make a comment. I know last time it may be difficult for some they don't have the capability. They may be at home, it's difficult, but I'm saying that even now we don't see them. I don't know who they are, my fellow board members. I know the one I see, the one I knew from before, but there are many I have no idea. Nor they speak. I don't know their voice. I may not even see their name sometime. That's all. That's all I'm trying to say. So, but this is what we communicate to the community outside there, you know, and so we want to do outreach. We should look at that because our meeting are our outreach right now. And if they are capable, the meeting, of involving the people properly, and I believe few change happened at the last executive committee, I believe the public is going to go just before the report. So that would be a good thing. They don't have to wait for hours. But most
So
likely,
are we going along with Julie? Are we making a motion that these things should be, that we're bringing it out? This is what we want. This is how we want it. And, you know, let's just make a motion, or have
that's
you
what
already motioned?
yeah. To
I mean,
and that's part of how we can
We have a quorum
postpone.
to make that motion?
We
That's a parliamentarian.
That's a
How
good
many
question, but
do we
I
have?
don't know.
1, 2,
How many do we need to have? Quorum?
five.
Do we have 5, 2, 3?
1, 2,
Yeah, we got
3,
it.
4, and you have Will is I don't know if these is Ryan. Are you on the outreach
No.
committee? Who's on?
4.
We have 4. We
We
don't
have
have
4.
Well, it says Erica. Is she on the committee? 1, 2, 3,
You have
4,
4.
5.
No, we have
Okay,
four. We have 4. We don't have a quorum.
Who's
But-
Erica?
I don't know. She's sitting in on the meeting. Hi, Erica.
Hi, are you on the? Neither Ryan or Erica are on the committee. Okay.
It's just Erica.
Hi,
We're just-
Alex.
Hi, it's Erica and Evelyn. We're just listening in. That's all we're doing.
We're happy you're
We're
there.
lending
I'm just saying-
support. for
I just
community
wanted
support.
to, we're trying to get a quorum, that's all.
It's okay.
But we don't have a quorum, so we can't vote.
Can't vote.
Well, you know, I believe tonight was a special night, but definitely something we're gonna. And mostly we were all here. You know, somebody had to leave, and I believe it was good. But it has to be our strict rule because we have serious issue here. So for the future, we want to make sure we have a quorum. Otherwise,
Well,
we're gonna
we
keep
need to
meeting.
put that on the agenda for the next month's meeting, that we need to take a vote on the issues that we made a list of, so we can vote on it.
I put it. It was on the agenda.
But we should do it early.
Yeah, but folks
Yeah.
left, so we need to get to the voting part and get straight to what we need to vote on and stick to that, and we can't keep going to left field.
I know, but that Theon arrived late. He have told me
We
right.
had quorum
that's,
before I arrived.
We had a quorum.
I know, but it was
Yeah.
something. But you said, Tiana, you want to bring some stuff to discussion about the social.
Yeah,
media?
we could have voted. I don't know I still don't know what is in the motion that we will want to vote on. So can we articulate what those points would be?
Yeah,
The
you know,
items that we wanted to do as a group, as a committee, like the social media, the outreach of COVID. I don't have the list in front of me. I know Ashante does.
well, the social media was about. We still will have to discuss more rules, but I believe the basic it was discussed to be impartial. Who we follow in the social media. We don't interact. We don't express personal things. We just put out information for the community. You know, at least for now. At least we evolve in a different way, and to share have a shared Gmail of whatever you were proposing, Tian. If you can then maybe put it in writing, whatever format we can decide for sharing this account between the member of the committee and the office, the district manager, which is responsible, you know, for.
Tion, I got some clothes you can fold.
I have so much laundry. I'm struggling. I was listening, Santi, and I would just say for all of the social media accounts, there are now ways that you can share the accounts without having to share the password. So that would be something that we can write up and like articulate how we would do so. And I can just like write a little blurb on like, say, if we wanted it for the Twitter account, how will we go about doing so? And just work with the people to do that.
Okay. So, but
Also,
we can vote
Santi,
anyway. Sure, Janice.
Don't we want to have a little flyer that explains to people how they can participate, that's on the website, and can also be handed out that explains how you participate in community board meetings, because a lot of people are afraid to speak up because they've been jumped on because they're doing it wrong. That somebody's determined they're doing it wrong. I've had a number of the women from my committee never been at a public meeting before in their life, and they're jumped on. So,
You're talking member of your board members, or you're talking about public?
both.
Both.
We have board members that are terrified to speak out. Are you kidding?
I mean, the microgrids that we just had that discussion on, like,
Yes,
like that's just like an example.
Yeah, because as the outreach committee, we're gonna need to explain to them how they have to sign up to speak, X, Y, and Z, because a lot of folks don't know how. I personally have never signed up to speak, but like Jan said, I have seen it done in the meetings where the women want to speak, but because they didn't sign up, they can't speak. And they need to know how the rules, when it needs to, they need to know all of that. So if we're gonna outreach, we gotta explain everything to them. They gotta know how this board function, how it works, how do they come in, X, Y, it's not minimum, it's a.
But that's why, you know, I had a conversation with Sophia, and I believe, Sophia, your work is growing here because we spoke about that before, and something Sophia said, it was unclear, but then so it was a need for clarity. We were talking about jargon. So, I mean, it's a lot of work. I don't know if the committee alone, even with the help of Sophia, she's working her thesis, that would be great, but you know, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of stuff, we don't have it. So we can vote, we can even vote now, we can present all those goals that are here, and we can keep talking back and forth. We can present it to the full board. I believe nobody will be against. The reason why this outreach committee was formed is to explore a way that we could do outreach, you know, and so that's what I can say, you know. Definitely, yes, we need to develop graphic, we need to develop content, and so it's a lot of work.
Is this material available at Borough Hall? I'd like to know what's available for outreach and community boards at Borough Hall, because I've never gone to their orientation, and I don't know what they do. So.
I don't know if there is some other material. No, there is something I found. I saw there was there is a community boards about community as boards explained. You know, some stuff could be taken for there. I put a link in the agenda there. I didn't have the time. There's probably other things to search, but we could simplify. I don't think there is something that define jargon. You know, how it could be nice to have a little bit something new, probably to simplify. And
like a glossary, you can just have a dictionary. So when someone
glossary.
says we need a quorum, what is a quorum? Like, if you haven't followed parliamentary procedures, you may not know that, but it's like something that I learned while being part of the community board. This the motion, the second, yeah. Like, those are like the interesting things that like we may find resources like at Borough Hall that someone just mentioned. They might have some resources on just like those procedures that we can check with them about, or we can just come up with a little like 101, or we can do like community board 101.
Find a good community board and we borrow their materials.
Yeah, so part of my research, I've been observing different community board meetings. I observed Chinatown and I observed Bushwick this month, and I did a comparative analysis of the 3 community boards and draw insights. But besides the point, last semester I read a lot of literature about emancipated participatory governance, which is basically how to how to gather communities and allow everyone to have the space and do something collectively. And a lot of it is having to do with dispersing the appropriate knowledge for everyone to participate effectively. But also, to that point, I know there's a community board host on every single one of the meetings. In other meetings, they kind of controlled who spoke when, and they would be okay, so and so, you just spoke, let someone else speak before you speak again, and they kind of mediated that. Is that something that could be done? Just because observing the meetings, they get a little bit hostile with everyone interrupting each other, and it takes away how constructive they are from my outside view. So is that something that the host can like do? Because if the meetings have a more respectful, I'm like, it's getting late in my brain's dying. Like, if the meetings have a more respectful, I'm gonna say vibe, but like, I feel like people will have more of the space to like share their perspective and like the opportunity to as well. Because you were saying like the same people speak over and over again. I observed 2 board meetings and I was like, oh yeah, like Del Teague and like all these other people. Like I know people's names because of the amount of times that they talk, and I've observed 2 meetings.
Well,
Sure you know my name because I
it is set up that way. That was the last meeting we had with WebEx. It's to mute people's mics, such as myself, that would jump in and don't raise my hand sometimes. And
you, Julia.
let folks know that you might have spoke once or too moo times. Where we just had a little training on that with the WebEx on how to mute people's mics so they can't keep jumping in. Because if you don't, as Tion just said, if you don't jump in, you ain't getting in. So we and even when we met in public, we had the same people speaking over and over again. Yet if my hand is like this, they'll jump in and say what they want to say. There is a procedure. It's just that we got to get folks to follow that procedure.
Yeah, I mean, I will say your board is the largest board out of the 3 that I observed, so I definitely know that it's like going to be more difficult. Another thing I was talking about with Sante was like, I know like tech like the techie like WebEx and whatever like isn't as it's not a common thing for everyone. But there's like so many different like tools on it, like using the reactions and whatnot. Like I know you guys talked about a training, but like what did that entail? Like the functions be used like more more widely utilized to like make it a little bit more, I don't know. Okay, yeah. I don't know.
There's your stuff, and I don't know how to do that. See, Julie,
I believe Janice is muted.
but I'm jealous that you're showing off with your little things. I don't.
There's a
from web. We learned it from the WebEx training. It's right there in your right hand corner, the little smiley face that says reactions. Just click it, and you can say, "Ooh."
To your point, Sophia, or Janice, are you saying something? Oh, there you go.
Somebody's muting me because they know I'm one of the talkers that you're talking about. But I will say, let me just say something as a talker at the community board. When you're talking about who talks and who doesn't talk, I will tell you right now that half the time I talk when nobody is saying anything, and I feel really bad for the people that came to present. So watch. There are some points, but that is, and I'm not defending myself. I'm just saying there is sometimes you need people that are really engaged in keeping animating. I'm trying to animate the room, so I have a purpose. As you see, we're animated now.
And I do appreciate that. Like, no one wants the like silent like part after they've just given a presentation. The one thing that we did also get from the WebEx training is that there was 2 different WebEx environments. You can be in WebEx meetings or you can be in WebEx events. We've been using WebEx events primarily, which had a more restricted access. So we didn't have the opportunity to do like the reaction emojis or have control over muting and things like that. And I think we're trying to have that set up for the combined public hearing with the board meeting as well, so that we can have like much more of a participatory like meeting.
Yeah, great.
And I believe tonight we are meeting, and there are people from the public. It's been very respectful. So it's nice to know that who is in there. You can see, you don't have to go to a side list, and for everybody, you know, even for the attendees, to see who is participating. You know, of course, when it's a larger meeting, but I don't think we never had this meeting to be that large. Even the general meeting, beyond the 48 people of board members, I believe there were always probably 20 or 30 maximum of attendees from the public, and probably they'll go away at a certain point. So I don't think it's never a number, you know, because the platform can host thousands of people, you know. So, okay, guys, I see you all froze. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. I don't know. I can't understand if it's something wrong with my line here. So, yeah, so I don't know. At this point, there's nothing to vote, but it's more like to be aware that we need to, you know, start to implement and work on this stuff. So we need graphic, we need a newsletter template, we need the email list, and a web form, so even Barbara Williams can use it for the COVID. And once we have that, if we can put up a first graphic, and maybe with the office coordinate to see what information we want to put on this newsletter, start working on a monthly newsletter, can be combined also with Twitter, you know, so it can cover both. You know, that would be probably the first outreach structure we have, and then we're gonna have to work on contents, you know. So what else? Better virtual meeting. I believe this is already a better meeting, so it seems you know, we made some advancing beyond the connection is not good, and maybe it's my connection. And yeah, we went to the WebEx meeting at Ian, right, on February 11.
Yeah.
There is something you want to say, because you are the tech guy of our committee. That was beneficial really to understand and clarify, so we can put this on record, that about the limitation we thought and the things that were we thought were not possible to achieve. You know, I believe the engineer clarify, right? There is no
Sure. Yeah. So the thing about WebEx is that, well, at the time when it was set up, there may have been settings that were true where we couldn't do these things, but they've smoothed out their platform. So either if we're using events or meetings, we can have up to 1,000 people with no problem. We can share the list of like attendees and panelists as a public setting. It just requires like it being set properly before the meeting. And that's just a matter of like setting the meeting up to fit the needs of our meeting. So we want to have like all the attendees be able to see each other. We just have to set it up before the meeting, so that when we send out the link, it's already set up so that works. So it would be a matter of us saying, what are some of the things we would recommend for making a more participatory meeting? It seems that this goes into the second point I have. We don't have quorum, so we can't vote. So we can have a list of recommendations, and then we can back next month to the board meeting and then have our vote that goes toward the things that we have suggested, but we won't be able to have anything voted on by the full board for consensus.
Yeah, but I'm assuming we can not vote tonight as a committee, but we already know that these were things that the committee, you know, definitely.
I'm sorry, Sante. I just wanted to mention, Tian was talking about the expanded platform for the board meetings. You know, there are issues which you're going to have 50 board members. We have up to 50 board members. Don't forget the elected officials are officio members of the board. We have trouble seeing them. You cannot put everybody on one screen. So I think that, you know, those issues with having such a wide, broad breadth of the structure of the meeting. That's why you had the events. It gave you more ability to be able to keep control over your group, the community board members. That you need to see the input. You need to, if you have everybody's picture showing, it consumes the resources, and the meeting could actually bomb. You have a small meeting tonight, and it's working. But if there was a lot of people on here seeing each other, big issues. So I just wanted to bring that up.
The one comment I would make about that is that if if the internet that you're on does not support that, then likely that's the case.
Yeah.
We know that WebEx as the platform says that we
Yeah.
can't support that. I would say if we were to use WebEx events, we do have the controls to say show all of the panelists and all
There's
of
no
the
panelists. I have to make sure they're been invited. I have
Sorry?
to make sure they're on the invitation list.
Yes. I was just saying on the
Okay.
invites for the events, we could just have the
Uh-huh.
checkbox to just show who is in the attendees. So that could just be a
Okay.
setting if we wanted to keep it in the events, because there are just two different ways that you can have the event go. So even if we keep it that way, we can have the participant list shown.
Yeah, because don't forget, when you do the meetings, you no longer have panelists. Everyone's participant,
Yeah.
like an attendee. And if I don't have you listed, when I send out the invitation to the committee members, everyone has to be listed to get that invite. I don't know who's who. There are people who call in on telephones, even board members call on and tell. I don't know who they are. I can't differentiate who they are.
Oh yes. Let me just I'll clarify what I was trying to say. When you create the event for the whole theme, before you send off for the panelists, there's the checkboxes on like how to set up the event. I think there we could just have the show attendees to other attendees, and that would just like allow for people who are in the audience or the community to see who in the community is also there. So that would just be one suggestion.
Like right now, I don't know who 3475 ... 72 is. That's on here, and we only have a few people. I mean, is there some way that could be corrected when people call it by telephone or not?
From what I was told by WebEx, no.
And even though they couldn't be listed on participants. Because we don't know, I don't know who that is, because whoever's on there, who is 3475?
I think it's just someone from the community who's just listening in as well. But yes.
I'd like to know that.
But for the committee meetings, the meeting format is very appropriate because there's a smaller number in that we could have it easily participatory here. The events work really well with larger groups, but that we can have that dynamic. We don't have a resource constraint by having like all of the cameras on, even if we had done a meeting with all the people in the meetings. But if we wanted to add those controls for like who's presenting and granting access, the events work well. I think just before the event go out, we can just find the checkbox that says just show the participant list. And I think that would make, that was like one of the concerns that a lot of committee members have just raised, that we don't have a way to just, they have not had a way to see who else is attending, and we can make that.
And the chats.
Yeah, well, the chat is, I would say that's a stickier topic, but the only reason is that we can't moderate the chat the same way. So if someone were to send a message to the entire community, we wouldn't be able to erase the message there. So yes, we can also have the chat and have that part of the discussion, but having visibility as a first step, I think is a great step. And then figuring out the chat, I think that would be a broader discussion we should have. Like, I know that it's a great way for participating, but I don't know how we would have to deal with content moderation in case something happened, and we would need to have like proper guardrails for that.
And also, most likely, if you have a chat and people start writing there, and Marie, she's alone and she's handling a lot of other stuff, you need somebody to keep monitoring the chat. Otherwise, all the comments go.
Well, the structure is that the co-chair of the committee monitors the chat, and at the board meetings, the recording secretary moderates the chat. So there is a structure
I
set
see.
up.
I see. Okay.
And the wonderful thing about chats is that people that don't like to publicly speak, there's so much good stuff that people put on chats. I don't know about the community board, but with my organization where we had 150 people in a Congress, and you can't all speak. So people are really dialoguing on the chat. You get a lot of content. I mean, wonderful.
Yeah, but one of the things it said is that when something's written there, it can't be retracted. And we had, when we first did our meeting, we had some wild stuff in there that had nothing to do with the community board. I mean, people were putting stuff in there. I was like, who is this person? What is it? So there's no way that you can actually moderate it. You can read it, you can see it. You may be able to expel someone from the meeting, but it's written. So anything could happen in there, whether, it's good or bad or derogatory. That's what I'm saying, that things could go in there.
But, we can prevent, sorry, Tion, go ahead.
I was just saying, that's actually something that we should bring up to WebEx, and we could bring up to WebEx as a community, where we will want to have a participatory meeting, just like Janice was mentioning. Like, there's a lot of rich conversation that can happen in the chat, but if there's no way for us as a community board with having, say, we have 2 or 3 people who can moderate the chat, and they can't remove content that's deemed that they've deemed derogatory, that's a problem for just us interacting. And I think we could write to WebEx saying, we're concerned as users of your platform that's sponsored by the city, that this should be something that you should prioritize as a feature. And I think that would signal to them this should be a priority that they can take upon themselves.
But when we speak, we can't. It's the same thing. Believe me, we've had a lot of raucous board meetings. Julia's jumped up many times to try to get order of politeness and firm. So, I mean, that's participation. It's messy. Democracy is messy.
That's true.
No, but and the advantage is, if we really think in comparison to a physical meeting, somebody says something bad or continue saying something you don't want to hear, you need to call the police to have him removed. This is actually so easy. You can just push him out of the chat, or you can put him in a room where you can wait. You can wait an hour, decide to bring him back. So you have even more control, really.
Yeah, we have a way to remove them from the meeting. So we could also do that. If someone did say something in chat, there is the feature to expel them. So that is also a way that.
And by the way, we don't even have principles about participation. That's part of this guideline we're saying, is that this is how we expect. If you're speaking, we expect people to talk to. We have a set of rules for my organization, but I won't get into them now. But I'm just saying, you can have a set of guidelines for people to talk. They don't know what it is. What it means to be respectful and listen and be able to disagree. We were told the other night by a board member that one of our board members could not say what she wanted to say about a topic she was talking about. And that he believed he had, this is the women's meeting, he believed he had the right to say she couldn't talk about it. So I'm just saying, we have to have guidelines.
Community participation guidelines are just nail on the head. I 100% endorse that.
I'll give you, I have a list to bring in next time that what we use. We call them basic agreements. And they are put on a big chart. People decide if they agree with them. They have to decide. If they don't agree with them, they have to change them. But we have some basic agreement. What it means, to listen, what it means to have your picture on, what it means, all this stuff. And people are forced to have to say they like it or don't like it. And then they can't moan and groan.
Absolutely.
In my classes, we like have a community, like we make community agreements on the first day of classes to like be enforced. But also like other boards at the very beginning of the meeting, like once enough people are there, they like explicitly state their board's expectations and how to like use the public session and how to use the chat. So like Bushwick was really the only meeting where I saw the chat being utilized, and like obviously there's a threat of like derogatory comments, but like that wasn't a concern, and it was a way for the attendees like to pose critical questions, and the board actually like interacted with them, because I know during their time speaking, like you guys aren't allowed to comment on it.
Also, I have to say, because I attend the other meeting, like, let me see a second where, yeah, I attend CB2, 6, and 9, you know, and probably all the attendees, they all had transparency. They could see the chat, they could see the list, you could see that. So I was curious to understand how they work, and you know, and most likely the majority of the nothing generated was bad. I mean, I didn't see anything bad in the chat. Didn't see any people. You can, if you say, and people feel this part. And we talked with Sophia last time. People want to have a sense of ownership, right? Feeling that you're really part. Most likely, you ask, you know, to be respectful, whatever. Most likely, you're going to encounter, you know, people. They're going to be compliant, you know. And but when you deprive them, you know, probably always trigger, you know, some form of rebellion, you know. So.
Especially with the length of the meeting, I don't think anyone who's attending the board meetings like are coming with ill intentions. Like, just to put it out there.
Appeal to you.
So few people participate that to worry about 1%. Yeah.
But there is to say
99%ers we want, not the 1%.
But also, you know, there is a lot of stuff to talk. Who said that before of you that, you know, this is a large community board? Sophia said that it's a big community board. A lot of stuff happened, you know, and you know, sometimes you really, maybe a meeting is not enough to explain and develop all the things that are needed, you know. And I understand that being the community board is a voluntary service that you provide. But the reality is that if you want to treat it like a membership to a book club where you go 1 hour once a month, this may not be the case. I personally found myself being over involved with things, and maybe that's the commitment. You know, that's why it's 2 years. After 2 years, you may be burnt out by this process. And so that's something important. Maybe there was another system. Maybe the public should be 2 meetings. Maybe one meeting for the public where people have opportunity. You know, we receive this information from the community, what is happening at the community as concern, because we are not penetrable anymore. We don't communicate. No, we can do outreach. We can even do outreach if we don't have a community that recognize the community board as a place to communicate. You know, it could be anything. It could be liquor license. Say, oh, go to SLA. This is we only advisor here. Or go whatever community feels that there is something happening as an impact for them. You know, we can do that. You know, and
time, Santi.
Sorry.
I think you're on the right road, but I think we're near our time for this meeting.
Absolutely.
But that is important that we are, and we are trying to save community boards as a democratic practice. And so I think we're starting with how do we improve our own, right? But we should look at, we can talk to Marcy Boyle and John Dereshevsky and those people that were on the board for years and years in the past. They changed it from 2, why did it change from 2 times a month, public and private, to what we now have, where you try to stuff it all into one night, and by the way, women are always W and we're always at the end. I mean, it's like ridiculous. At 10 o'clock at night, now you're going to talk about women, and half the women are caregivers and they had to go home. I mean, it's like,
And also,
I'm just
some
be fun. We'll have fun with each other, by the way.
something else, the duration of meeting, but there is a way that we can, and this Jerry probably could tell us, and then I don't want to speak anymore. I'll let you say other things. Voting and roll calls, there is a way we could do this virtually, because if we have to do a lot of time, I mean, it could be done with a click and be equally recognized. Is that possible?
The law department wants each board member's vote recorded accordingly.
I know, but I'm glad they sit down there at the law department and come up with these things. They're not participating and looking what it's doing to people.
It's the public officers, Lord. If the members answer the roll accordingly when I call the name, it could be done painlessly.
No, Jerry, it wasn't.
I don't think I can hear you if you were speaking. Sorry.
Okay.
Really quickly, like about the whole attendance thing. Sorry, I'm talking a lot. This is just like my first time.
And just one further clarification. The chair calls the committees in the order that people respond to her, the committee chairs, saying that they'd like to make a committee report. It's not done in alphabetical order. So if you don't respond or you respond last, then you're last.
Okay, but so out of like the 3 boards that I observed, like Williamsburg takes roll call the most. A lot of other ones do it at the beginning, at the end. And something that I observed with the Chinatown meeting, which I thought was really effective, was they have like a vote sheet that gets sent to everyone prior to the meeting with all the items that the committees want to be proposed for a vote. And at the end of it, they go through like a roll call and they can say like, yes, except I like say no on these items, and it's done all at once. And I think that would be a really great way to like save time. And also I think the Bushwick one, I don't know, I don't have it in front of me. They like send the committee reports, the summaries of what happened prior to the meeting as well, so everyone has the information. And then
we do that also. If the committee chairs provide a report, it is sent out to all the members before the meeting.
So if you make that a requirement, then that part could also be streamlined, and then you can focus more on the tangible issues that are happening in the community and engage the attendees. Because like when I went to those other meetings, there was that more like tactile conversation, whereas in these meetings it's so focused on what happened in the monthly committee meetings that is barely understood by any of the attendees, and it takes 4.5 hours where the other meetings take 2.5. So it's just like thinking of ways to streamline the process and like a way that could actually be like imposed upon by the board as a whole.
So how is the public made aware of what these people are voting on, since they're getting confidential sheets prior to the meeting?
Why does it have to be confidential though? Like these.
Well, it sounds like it. If you say they're operating off a separate sheet that they get in the mail, the purpose of the transparency is the committee chair gives the report, references the item, and then it's publicly voted on.
Well, it's not like they don't talk about what they did. It's just like it's a briefer summary, but we're proposing to have a newsletter. So like if we have that contact information, those reports can be put on the website. They can be sent through the emails. Like everyone can have access to that. But it's like, how can we make the community board meetings like more collaborative and participatory in like a wider sense?
Well, community board meetings are meetings amongst the members of the community board. The public's interaction is during public session. Each community board member is supposed to represent their parts of the district. The
Yeah,
community board
is the
meetings,
public session for the community board because you have the time that people can speak freely at the very end, whereas
only during
session
public
has the
session.
beginning.
The public can speak freely, could sign up to speak during public session. Other than that, even the in-person meetings, there was no time for the public to address the board except during public session.
Okay, but like then why do you think that that community boards have such like an ill perception among the community? Like
I don't agree with your perception that the community has an ill-perceived perception.
I'm just basing it off of my research that I've spent the last
Well,
6
you
months
know, I
on.
mean, that's your research.
What?
So there's the presentation part of the meeting that happens at the very beginning, and then there's the speaker part that happens at the very end of the board meeting. So those are like the two different public venues. Like the first is for the presentation part, and then the last is for
Exactly. During the public hearing, items are presented. Chair Fuller allows people to address those particular items that are on the agenda for public hearing and allows people to speak during that time. But once we go into the board meeting, once we go into session, then basically there is no participation from the public with the exception of the scheduled public session where people have to sign up in advance and tell us that they want to speak. And at that point in time, they have 2 minutes to address the board. And that's the way it was when our meetings, you know, pre-pandemic, that's the way it was then. And basically that's the way it is now.
So Jerry, I have a question.
Absolutely.
So for the public session that's at the very end, is that in response to the board meeting with the community board members? Is that what that public session speaking part for?
Someone can get up to speak during public session and talk about anything in the universe.
Okay. And that's different than the public hearing that's at the beginning of it. So I guess one question is, why do we separate the public hearing from the public session?
Public session is mandated.
Okay, mandated for the community, for the board.
By the city charter to allow the public, that's the charter's interpretation of public participation at our meetings. That John Doe or Jane Doe could get up and speak about, you know, anything in the universe that they want to. They have 2 minutes to do that.
Sure. I guess my question is, why do we have it after the public hearing session? I mean, why do we have it after the public hearing session in the board meeting?
But now it's changed. The executive committee actually has voted, right? Jerry confirmed that because now the public will speak before the reports, so they don't have to wait all the way to the end of the meeting. Is that correct, Jerry? I understood right?
I haven't seen the agenda for the March meeting because the executive board has not met, so I cannot advise you on that.
I watched the meeting, so I thought they voted. That's why I was informed, but I didn't see anything in writing, I believe. But
the executive committee, Marie, correct me if I'm wrong, the executive committee has not been held yet to schedule the March meeting.
No, that's what we did. We did have the meeting a week ago.
Okay.
So
has the agenda been adjusted in any way?
Yes.
They just moved the public session up on the agenda, but that's public session. People are very confused when it comes to speaking at the meetings. No, don't shake your head yes. What I'm saying is that a lot of discussion also happens in the committees. So if people are not shut out of talking about an item that's before the board that's being presented, they have the opportunity to ask questions during the public hearing. They have opportunities to ask questions and participate in the committee meetings where there is a session where people can speak. But with the board meeting, the public session is for anyone who wants to speak on whatever they want to talk about. It doesn't matter if they want to come and make an announcement about their community group, or they want to say something is happening, or they want to bring up an issue. It's specific to them speaking. That little session was moved up to during before the committee reports. Just
Thank you for the
just-
clarification. I like that makes I understand the context why it was placed where it was, in case your comment is going to be on the board meeting that you just heard, or for the public hearing, or anything you want to talk about. I get that, and I see why they may have moved it before the committee reports. So thank you for the clarification.
And Jan was right. Originally, there were 2 meetings a month. There was a public hearing held on the second Tuesday, and then there was a board meeting held on the 4th Tuesday.
Yes, and Ryan also mentioned that in our chat as well. So thanks both of you for
It's too
giving
much
us
for
the history of that.
everybody. They have, it was too much for everybody to have twice a month, but the fact is, it's too much for everybody to have 4-hour meetings right now too. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
At least you're home for the 4 hours. We're not.
Yes, I
mention
feel
of-
bad for you and Marie.
My whole mention of like what other meetings did was like more for you guys. I know that's a pain, like the time length is a pain point for you guys as well. Like you mentioned it in the last meeting. Like, yeah, I know you're at home and you're eating dinner and doing all these things. How can you be fully engaged in what is happening in the meeting and your role as a community facilitator when you can't even fully focus on what is happening?
That's right. Well, for right now, we have to say that this is the dialectic. We can't solve this, but we have to say this is what it is, and that people historically have tried to figure out what to do about it. And I would like to hear from you were there, Jerry, but when we had it twice a month, where people certainly didn't stay as late. You know.
Well, they were in-person meetings,
Right.
and there was constraints on the meeting room when we had to be out.
Yeah, that I think was ridiculous too. That was not necessary to make those rules. They could have been another solution to that, but that's neither here nor there right now. So
I have
are
to
we-
go. I have dinner obligations.
So
This was great discussion. I really look forward to seeing you all at the next combined board meeting.
It was a big agenda. We don't have the time, we is gonna keep coming, and maybe we'll be more selective next time and decide what to focus on and keep evolving it. So I know it's been a long evening for everybody, and my line is terrible. So okay, guys, let's retalk soon. See you at the public meeting. Thank you, Jerry.
Good evening, everyone.
Thank you, Jerry, for the clarification for everybody. Thank you. Okay, have a good night.